All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Azalise Parks. I'm a graduating senior. I forget to add that one in there. A graduating senior. My major is athletic training with a concentration in teaching. I'm getting over cold, so bear with me on my voice. I'm gonna try. So a little bit of background about me. About a few months ago, my thesis was on a whole nother topic. I just had a recent career shift, and I found something that I was more passionate about, which is education. Initially, I was going into, when I first came to TSU, my goal, I wanted to be an athletic trainer. I wanted to be an athletic trainer, and I wanted to work alongside in the NFL. I wanted to work with the NBA. That was my biggest goal when I came to TSU. I ended up switching my major from kinesiology to athletic training, and I had the teaching route attached to it. So I started taking these education classes, and I'm getting a feel for what it looks like on a lecture base to be in a classroom, and it was something that I enjoyed. I had an opportunity to work as a counselor with a company called Kid Venture. That was where I piqued my interest with the youth. I started with pre-K. I went to 2nd to 5th grade, and then I got up to 15, 16, and I had the experience with all grade levels and all ages. And as I continued, my studies in the classroom, it was something that I felt like I could pour into somebody. Being able to be an educator, I have a purpose, for somebody behind me. Now, as far as physical education, in high school, I had a coach. His name was Coach D. Coach D took me up under his wing like no other. I really appreciate him. Still to this day, I call Coach D if I need a letter of recommendation or if I need some advice on my collegiate level and what to do next. He's always there. So him being able to be that forefront for me in high school, I noticed that, I want to be able to be that for somebody else. Somebody that, a student can call later on down the line for a letter of recommendation or any type of advice on what they may need. And so we're back here on physical education. Currently, I am finishing my clinical hours for my certification. I just recently obtained my certification in physical education, early childhood through 12th grade. Thank you. And currently, I started at a Southside elementary school. So I was with kindergarten up to 5th grade, and I'm currently at the middle school level right now. So this thesis is basically focusing on how technology in the educational system is being used for the good and how it's being looked at as something that can be negative towards our students. Emphasis on the physical education. So me being in the gym, I'm still a teacher, but it's a different world than if I was in a classroom. I deal with different things in the gym. I see different things than I would see if we were in a regular classroom setting. So let me see. Is it up? There you go. This is my overview, topics that I have here. My abstract. So the study initially focuses on 3 key areas. So student engagement, classroom behavior, and the learning outcomes of how technology can benefit all 3 of these. How does technology impact the student's behavior while he or she is in my classroom? How does it impact how he or she is learning when it comes to the physical education aspect of being in my gym, and what it looks like in the gym? Technology, when you think technology, what do you think? What comes to your mind first when you think technology? Computers. AI? Yeah, that's a valid one. AI, yes. When you think technology, you think AI. Let me see, we're gonna visit some. And the the VR, the VR set, yes ma'am. Let me see. Okay, so these are my 3 research questions that I used and I focused on. So the first one, how does educational technology impact student engagement in physical education classes? So is me implementing technology with my classroom encouraging them to want to be in my classroom, or is it making them not want to be there? How is it impacting them being engaged with what I'm teaching in the lesson on a daily? What effect does technology have on student behavior? So if I'm implementing technology for my students, is it allowing my students to have that source of like intrinsic motivation? Is it making them want to feel like they want to be there? Or is it making them feel like, or maybe they're lost or confused and don't know how to maneuver with the technology I'm supplying them with? And does the use of technology improve or hinder students' physical activity levels and learning outcomes? So how is me implementing physical education in my classroom helping my students be a better version of themselves? Am I giving them something just so I can get past the day, get past the period? Or am I giving them something where over time they'll be able to understand and better themselves for the next grade levels to come? Let's see. Okay, background in technology. So there's a rapid growth of technology in education, meaning I know in high school, I played basketball in high school, and we had these vests. It's called a catapult. The catapult is used to track a player's shot, how often you're shooting, the form that you're shooting, and yeah, so the catapult is used for that. That was a source of technology that I quite didn't understand in high school. I didn't understand why we needed something to put on the vest to track how many shots we were throwing up or what that looked like. But here recently, and then you mentioned the VR as well, the VR is also something you can put on a VR nowadays and it'll lead you through a whole workout. It'll tell you what exercise you're doing, it'll tell you how many sets, how many reps you need, and you know that's the source of technology we're dealing with now. The problem statement: despite the use of educational technology in PE, there has become a limited understanding of how common these tools affect student engagement and behavior. So being able to understand, and what I've realized while I'm in the different grade levels of teaching is that, as I mentioned, sometimes technology is being used as a bypass. It's being used as, you know, let's get this period by. So what's being misunderstood is how technology can benefit students rather than let's just get past the period. So that understanding is becoming limited, that it can be beneficial as well and not just something to use, you know, to implement in my class. My thesis statement: educational technology in PE significantly influences student engagement, behavior, and learning outcomes. And while at the same time it can enhance my students' participation and skill development, its effectiveness depends on how intentional and appropriate I am as a teacher. So if I'm implementing technology with the wrong purpose, it's only going to affect and apply to my students and how I'm giving it to them. So me being intentional, having purpose where I'm implementing technology in my classroom will have an effect and a trickle effect on how my students are developing. These are some examples of technology in PE. So as I mentioned, this is the catapult here. Now I believe they use it for football as well. It's something they use to track football as well. And then this one right here, this is, I don't know if y'all have seen it. Sometimes in a gym, there's like a big machine and it shoots the basketball out. It'll shoot the basketball out, you throw the shot up, and it actually times when you throw the shot up because it signals the ball going back down through the machine, and it'll shoot another one at you, and it's continuous like that. Now they have one where you connect it to your phone, and it's an arm sleeve. You put the arm sleeve on, and as the ball shoots at you, that's how it tracks it based off of your arm. Whenever your arm goes up, that's when the ball will come out, and you can track it on your phone as well. Track your shot, your form, what better you can do with your form, what your form looks like right now. Spreadsheet for personal tracking purposes. So right now where I'm at, we have, our girls are doing circuits. So group A will stay in the gym, and you know, one day they'll focus on agility or they'll do footwork, and the ones who are outside are in the weight room or on the track. So when they're on the track and I'm leading them in a mile run, I have a spreadsheet where they can track their own mile run. As they run past me, you're collecting popsicle sticks. As you collect the popsicle stick, you write the time that you collected that one stick, and when you come back, it goes until you have 4. 4 is a mile. So I have a spreadsheet for the students where after they finish the mile, they can take their time that they collected each popsicle stick and put it in a spreadsheet to track their progress. And weekly, they go back and they look at it, and that's something that can create intrinsic motivation for a student, looking back at their progress to understand, you know, where they were yesterday and where they want to be in the next 2 days. uses, instructional videos, and demonstrations. So I have an example in here, actually. Let me see. Okay, what research says. So research shows that the integration of educational technology in PE helps increase student engagement, their motivation, and their participation by providing them with interactive, personalized experiences. So what I've experienced is that if you allow a student to have an input on their education, they're more than likely to be involved. They're more than likely to want to be there. They're more than likely to want to actually do better if they're allowed to have an input on how they're learning. So these are just some examples of things that can be used in physical education. I know sometimes when the girls are working out in the gym, we'll put some music on. That's some motivation for them. They like to listen to music while they're in there. The sheet, I just mentioned that, we use the Google spreadsheet for them to track their progress so that they can do better pushing forward. QR codes. That's something that we used actually at the elementary level, and it actually blew my mind because I was like, they're going over a QR code and filling out a form for data, the fifth graders, and I was like, well, what is the QR code exactly doing for the students? And she explained to me, my cooperative teacher explained to me that that's their way of receiving feedback. So if it's at the end of the PE lesson, they'll fill out the QR code, and that's how she's projecting her lessons every day for her students to be better. So that was something I was able to implement in that too. Learning theories. So you have active learning, motivation, and attention focus. So in the midst of, again, as I mentioned, in the midst of technology is something that we use to do everything nowadays. So, but it also it can hurt us and it can help us. It's the same with students in the PE world. I've also noticed that now PE is not looked at as something that's needed. And when I'm at the eighth graders, when they come in, sometimes they just sit down. They say they don't want to do it today. They don't want to be there. So PE sometimes is a class just for them to come and sit down and be there. Me looking at that, I'm looking, how can I implement something different for these students to want to be there, for me to get their attention, for them to want to focus on my lesson. What can I do to implement that? Motivation. So I mentioned extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation would say, I'm the coach, you're my athlete. If I was to tell you, I want to see a time 40 seconds better than what you had yesterday on your mile. You do that, I'll let you skip the next workout tomorrow. That's extrinsic motivation. I gave you something to look forward to, and you're giving me something in return for the benefits of you. Seeing a better mile time from you benefits you. It doesn't benefit me, it's beneficial for you, but because I mentioned that, you now have that motivation. Intrinsic motivation would be if a student just internally wants to do better for himself or herself, they have that motivation within themselves and they're able to apply it and be better for just themselves without hearing any outside noise. And then active learning, I'm sorry. Active learning, so being able to depend solely on the practice and movement that they apply. Technology can help enhance active learning by guiding practice and providing feedback. So I know one thing that I do after I teach a lesson, I'll give my students feedback by not only giving them encouragement, but I'll ask questions. So today I did a lesson on, they had exercises around the gym. On my whistle blow, they would go into the exercise. Every time I blew, that was 1, the next blow was 2. So at the end of that exercise, I gave them words of encouragement, told them they did a great job, but I also asked them, one question I asked in a plank, what degree is your arm at? What degree is your arm at? So being able to integrate different concepts into PE and have my students give me that feedback, that's a form of a formative assessment at the end of my lesson. Impact on learning patterns. So attention versus distraction. It can be a way to either lose the student's attention or to gain it. Technology can go both ways. As I mentioned, it's a way that, if a student intrigues too much into the technology, I know sometimes a student will go all day with the Chromebook in front of them. That's all they look at is the Chromebook, just the Chromebook. That's hurting the student because you have no social interaction. You're not learning anything on just lecture based. You're not listening to what your teacher is telling you. It's just Chromebook assignments, and you're submitting everything online. Information processing. Technology improves visual learning and understanding and can also address different studies learning styles. So technology can allow a student to exemplify the way that they need to learn. I know me, I'm a visual learner. I have to see it. You can't read anything to me, I have to look at it. I have to see it to be able to understand and intake what you're telling me. So technology can also address the students who vary from visual learners, tactile learners, and auditory learners. It can cater to those students in different ways. Oh. So, yeah, can you pause it real quick? Okay, thank you. So, as I mentioned, when I started at the lower level with pre-K through 5, this was the method that they used for PE. There was a smart board in the gym, and when the students came in, the first workout they did was led off of the smart board. So there's YouTube videos, Danny Go, and then there's some more that she had me put on there. And that's not something I'm doing right now at the middle school. So he played a video for me. Or can I play it? Okay, so if you notice, this learning style with the technology implemented allowed me to have more of an observational teacher perspective. So all I did was press play on the smart board. The exercise was led on the smart board, and my job as the PE coach was to evaluate each student and make sure if they were doing it right, what corrections can I give he or she, how can I help them do better. And that was the first maybe 25 minutes of our PE class at the elementary school was video-led, technology-led, and seeing that on the board, the students instantly knew what to do. I had some corrections as a coach, but essentially all they did was look at the board, and then afterwards I would lead a lesson, an activity lesson for them. But this was the start of the lesson. Technology versus traditional PE. So implementing technology is interactive for most kids. It allows kids to be capable of keeping students engaged for an extended amount of time. Kids love technology nowadays, and unfortunately, what it looks like nowadays is here's the phone, here's the iPad. That's what it looks like. So that initiation for the youth is what they look forward to. Technology is something that can keep a kid engaged, that can keep a child quiet. It's something that can keep a child, content. Traditional PE allows students the time to experience more physical movement than just depending on technology. I've noticed that some students are underdeveloped when it comes to gross motor skills. And I figure the reasons why is because of how parents are giving them attention. It's the phone, the iPad, not let's go to the park or let's go throw a ball or let's go play catch. Those are the type of ways that, and I noticed, by 5th grade, you should be able to enter and exit a turning jump rope, a self-turning jump rope, right? There's some 8th graders at my elementary school that cannot. They don't know how. And I feel like that's coming from how technology has been misinterpreted and integrated into their lives growing up. Impact on student behavior and classroom dynamics. So what to pull from this? Increased behavior, there's a potential for off-task behavior as well. Again, technology can also deteriorate the student from understanding their purpose of being there in the classroom. Technology-based and traditional approaches both have their strengths and their weaknesses. Technology also helps enhance interaction, feedback, and personalization. So when I think classroom dynamics, I think about classroom management. That's why I put this in bold right here. I've noticed in my clinicals first year, classroom management is important. And my world in physical education, classroom management looks different. It looks different, it doesn't look the same as if I was in the classroom. So one thing that I felt like I've taken up under my wing to move forward with me in my educator career is that if I take the time to understand a child, I can understand how I need to maneuver with the child. Every child I cannot address the same. Every child I cannot discipline the same. So being able to understand each child and their individualities will allow me to develop a classroom management as a whole to be beneficial for each and every student in my class. So that's why I put classroom management on there. That's something I pulled. One big thing I pulled from doing my observations in my clinical hours is that being able to establish how I'm going to implement classroom management will make a big difference in how impactful I can be in my students. Challenges and key observations. Students and teachers can start to be over distracted from the devices. So that falls back into me saying that, just cutting the video on and allowing them to go based off the video. No type of instruction, no feedback. That's a distraction from what, educators are actually there in their purpose to fulfill their purpose. When the use of technology is structured, it improves the outcomes that come with using it. Structure is one of my favorite words right now. And that's why I put this here. It's structured. But I say that because in the gym, that's one thing I tell my girls, is structure. Structure means a lot. Being able to be intentional, being able to have purpose and do things the right way and learn from the things that you're doing. So if the use of technology is structured and I have purpose and why I'm implementing it into my classroom, it can have a trickle effect and be beneficial rather than just a filler for my students. Yeah, that's my favorite word right now, structure. I don't know if it's because I'm a PE coach, but I love that word right now. He paused it for me. Okay, so this is at the middle school. We have 6th grade through 8th grade. This is 7th grade right here. And this is an example of traditional PE. So just me, the whistle, and my voice. That's it. There's no screen. I may use the shot clock every now and then for a bigger buzzer for them, but this is how I lead my middle schoolers on campus right now. So yeah, that's an example of how most of my lessons are led here at the middle school. It's just by the whistle, basic instruction coming directly from me. And I've noticed that this is traditional PE is a lot more personable. I'm able to make a connection with them through just me and my whistle, and it's something I value too. I also value working with the older kids as well, because they have this understanding of the difference between the two. But yeah, this is an example of that. And then recommendations for PE teachers: to integrate technology with clear purpose. So again, having that structure and being intentional with how you're implementing and having purpose with how you can benefit your students. Maintain a healthy balance between activity and tech use. So being able to go back and forth between my first video at the elementary and me and the whistle, being able to go back and forth between there and have a healthy balance between the two and not focusing on just one. Use effective implementation to improve your outcome. So I'm implementing, how can I implement better? What can I do to have a better outcome for my students and get them engaged more? And not only engaged, but physically progressing. Students should be progressing also in my PE classroom and being able to do things in the next 3 weeks that they couldn't do when they first got to me. Thank you. That's the end of my